Hi, Whitney.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So good to see you. How are you?
It's great to see you. I am doing well.
Good. I'm so excited we're doing this. For those of you, for some reason, that don't know who Whitney Madden is, she's kind of like the pioneer of completely changing your life after the brain health coaching course and just kind of the story of how you found the course in the first place. So I'm really excited to share because you're kind of like our shining star.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm lucky because I got to spend time with you in the office multiple times, which is amazing.
Well, thank you. It's been quite the journey that was not expected in a really good way. Um, I mean, as far as our what's all happened is when my daughter had a lot of learning issues, and we took her for 13 years to all different types of practitioners and testing. And I'm an acupuncturist by trade, and so I was also involved in the integrative holistic world as well, and taking her to all sorts of different people. And we could not figure out or tap into what was going on with her. And I I guess it's been 4 years. 4 years ago, I ran across Dr. Amen's Facebook ad, and it says something about learning issues. And the first thing I clicked on it, and the first thing that I heard was, "How can you treat the brain if you don't look at it?" And it was just one of those lightning bolt moments in my life where I was like, "Oh my God, we've done everything on the planet except look at her brain." And obviously that is what is at the root of the issue here. And in Chinese medicine, we're always looking for the root of the problem. We don't want to just do a band-aid. We want to get in there and figure out what is causing it so that we can really heal it at a very deep level.
Right.
And so that was always, I psychiatrists and tutors and teachers had all said, you need to put her on a stimulant, you need to do this, you need to do that. And there was just kind of this gut mother reaction that was like, no, that doesn't feel right, that doesn't feel right. And I couldn't explain what it was. It just was this just overall, like, my body was going into convulsions, like it just felt wrong. And so so after seeing that fateful Facebook ad, I brought her down to the Atlantic Clinic, to the Amen Clinic in Atlanta, and she was 16 at the time. And just to kind of give a little bit of background of kind of where she was at, like as far as the desperation of where we were all at, is she was a freshman in high school. She had been in private school. She had been in Montessori, and she had been in an all-girls middle school. And they really, like, the teachers loved and cared for her and knew she was struggling and didn't know why she was struggling, but they like literally like carried her through all of those grades. And what was interesting to me that I kept going back on that I couldn't figure out is that she, up until age 9, she was reading and everything was, she was doing math in Montessori, like way further along than where she should have been, grade level wise. And she everything was normal. And so all of a sudden, like, the switch went off in her brain, and I just could never, I knew my daughter's biological father died when she was 5 years old. And I immediately started her with art therapy and, everything that I could do, treatment wise. I started her with EMDR. I started her with a therapist that she stayed with for 9 years. And nobody anywhere along the way said, we really gotta like check out her brain. So fast forward back to when she was 16 and I brought her down to the Amen Clinic. I was really impressed, first of all, with the process and the amount of detail and history taking that the Amen Clinic wanted, that made me feel like they weren't going to miss anything. And so that was really, really helpful, especially as a practitioner, because I was bringing her in, and I was in mom mode, but I'm always in practitioner mode and always watching and seeing and observing of what others and how they interact and what they do. Dr. Ali was our amazing saving Saint Grace. And he came into the room and he immediately connected with Haley. It was like, you know, I wasn't there in a good way. Like, he was like, I'm here for her, and, you know, this is where my focus is, which I was thrilled about. I needed her to connect with him. And he just laid out and he said, you know, this is a normal brain, if there was ever such a thing as a normal brain, but this is a healthy brain, and this is your brain. And, you know, there was a stark difference, and without any training or knowledge, I could see, like, oh my gosh, like, her brain is not functioning well at all. And she looked at those pictures, and I swear to you, that moment that she looked at the pictures of the brain scans was a moment of healing for her, in terms of, she didn't feel then shame and guilt and low self-esteem around what she had been struggling with. She knew she could not keep up with her peers. Her peers made fun of her. It was brutal. It was really hard for her to just be, she had no memory, no short-term memory at all. She couldn't watch movies or read a book that she could finish a sentence with. Or, I mean, she couldn't keep the storyline in her head long enough to understand what was going on. So we didn't go to movies. We didn't read books anymore. She read up until age 9. And then she read only, like, when desperately needed for schoolwork. And so we, you know, even just like on a daily basis in our house, you know, I would say, hey, can you please unload the dishwasher? And she could unload the top rack. And that was like, then I was like, but what about the bottom rack? Like, you know, I look at it, I'm like, the whole thing needs to be done, right? Her brain did not see that. Her brain was like, I will do this, and then I'm going to go away. And so it was, you know, our home life was hard. She was struggling. We were all struggling. She would spend hours with tutors, tears. The tutor would be in frustration and tears. I would be in tears watching it. Haley would be in tears because she couldn't do it. And to give you an idea, when she was a freshman in high school, I'm sorry, she was a junior in high school when I brought her to the Amen Clinic. And when she was, so the first 2 years of school, she was failing high school. And my husband and I and my daughter, we sat down and we were like, you know, okay, so there's possibility that you won't be able to graduate, and that's okay. We'll figure out something else. And that was kind of the pathway. We were going to try to finish high school, but didn't think we could do that. And so sophomore year, she took her PSATs. And this just kind of gives you, this number gives you an idea of like how her brain was not functioning. So as a sophomore in high school, her PSAT score was a 17%, 17. And that was her capacity. And when we went to the Amen Clinic, and then she just happened to be on the protocol for 2 weeks from what the Amen Clinic suggested, and that she just happened to be taking her SATs again at that time, and she went up to a 76%. Now, I can guarantee you with my life that she did not learn 2 years of high school in 2 weeks and, you know, be able to all of a sudden magically go from 17% to 74%. And it was one of those moments of, oh my God, her brain has been turned off this entire time. The past 13 years of her life, her brain has not taken in any information, very little information. And that was just, you know, that was a miracle. That was a miracle. There's no other word for it. so we were in Dr. Ali's office, and he started to explain, what was going on. And what we saw with her is that there were 5 areas of her brain that were not functioning well. And 4 areas were hyperactive, had too much blood flow going in there. And 1 area was hypoactive. And so what Dr. Ali said is, we need to work with this particular regimen in terms of supplements and neurotransmitters. And, and then we also need to work with the EMDR as well. And I said, well, we've tried EMDR, like it didn't do anything. And he said, well, it didn't do anything because she didn't have the capacity to process it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if we can get her brain going and get the EMDR in there, I'm all for it. So what was interesting, one thing that I am so glad that I asked him, because it had been bothering me for 13 years. I said, people have been psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors and tutors and teachers have all suggested that she be on a stimulant. And he said, absolutely not, that if we had put her on a stimulant at that time, that would have sent her entire brain on fire. So she's already got these 4 hyperactive areas, and it would have just completely sent her over the edge. And I said, well, what would have happened? And he said, it's hard to tell how different people react, but, she could have gone into self-harm or, something like that. And so I just have to say that if there is a parental instinct that people are feeling and they don't know why, don't question it. Like, you'll get the answers later. And even if it's 13 years later, you'll get the answers later. So that made me feel a little bit better and sane for refusing that all these years. What's interesting is that now she's still on the regimen, but she is able to take a little bit of a stimulant because those other areas of her brain have calmed down.
Right.
So, things continue to progress. She continues to get better. And I don't know how this happened. She was failing high school. She was starting her junior year. We went to the Amen Clinic right in like it was September of her junior year, and she graduated with a 4.0. And I don't even understand how that's possible. Like, I just don't get it.
I cannot stop crying. Like,
I mean, she just
so invested, you guys, and I just love her so much. And
I mean, she's just such a, she never had any behavioral issues. She is a beautiful, gentle spirit and loves and is compassionate with animals and people. And because of this, I mean, because of the Amen Clinic, it has now given her, she's in nursing school right now. Like, that wasn't even an option. I mean, 4 years ago, that was not an option. And, she still, struggles with tests. It's not like everything is perfect, but oh my God, like she now knows what she needs to do. I haven't touched or helped or done anything test wise or homework wise or anything since she started following the Amen protocol. And as a mother, I have to tell you, after 13 years of struggling, it was a relief to be able to be like, okay, I guess this is what normal kids do and normal parents do. And we've never had that experience. So, but I have to tell you this one little story, if you don't mind.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear it.
Because it just shows kind of the capacity that changed in her brain. So, prior to this, she would not be able to follow directions, and because she couldn't hold, she didn't have a short-term memory, so she couldn't hold, one thought to the next thought. And so, she never tried to put anything together. And so about 4 days, like within 24 hours, I started to see a little bit of difference of how she was. And I was like, no, I'm really wanting this to work. Like, this cannot be happening in just a day or so. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't say anything to my husband. I just kind of kept my mouth shut and just held my breath. And So 4 days after we started the protocol, she had wanted one of those rolling hanging things, like a rolling closet, to hang
Okay. Yeah.
her up. And so I had gone to Bed Bath and Beyond. We got it. I brought it up to her room. I said, okay, I've got to go finish work for a little bit and I'll be back and we'll put it together. And she said, okay. So I left for about a half an hour. I came back and I stood in the doorway, and the closet, rolling closet, was staring at me in the face. It was put together. And I just stood there and I was like, what happened? Like, what did you do? Like, what? I mean, I was just so shocked. And she said, I just put it together. What do you mean? And I was like, but you've never been able to do that before. And she was like, Mom, I just opened the directions, and there's parts A through J, and I just put it together. And I was like, but you've never been able to do that before. And what struck me in that moment is that she would not necessarily remember how her brain was not working in the past.
Right.
Like, she now had a new filter on and a new capacity. So she wasn't going to remember all the things that she couldn't do. Like, she just caught up really fast. And like, thinking about school, like just from a grade standpoint, average, I mean, I was never into the grade part. Like, I didn't care about that. I did want her to pass high school. I did have that desire for her. But the grades showed me, like, her capacity was just so much greater. She couldn't have met her potential. And now she's so on her path. I mean, she's on her life path of becoming a nurse. And every client that she has, every patient that she works with, every teacher that she works with, they're all like, oh my God, she is meant to do this. This is what she is meant to do. And without the Amen Clinic, she would not have been able to fulfill that. So you can say that she had a miracle, and then I had a ripple effect miracle, because I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, what does the Amen Clinic know that the rest of us don't know? And I held my breath for 6 months, because I wanted to make sure that it was really true. Like, is this change going to stick? Like, can I trust this? Because I have not been able to trust anything in relation to her treatment for 13 years. And so after 6 months, I was like, oh my God, I can't stand this anymore. And so I've been, at that point, I was in practice for 16 years with acupuncture, never took, barely vacation at all. I was an entrepreneur, and I took a month off, and I took the brain health coach, and that's all I did. And I took the brain health coaching program, and I was just fascinated and a sponge, and just could not get enough information into my own brain and into my body, because I was like, oh my God, why are people not talking about brain health? This sounds so basic and so elementary. We have sex ed, we have drug ed. Why do we not have brain health ed in our schools, and for our parents, and for our children, and for our teenagers? Like, why are we not talking about how to keep people's brains healthy? Because if their brain's not healthy, they can't live to their potential. And it's such in Chinese medicine, it's the root. Like, you got to have a good brain filter to be able to do everything you got to do. So I came back into my clinic after a month off, and I started integrating it with Chinese medicine. And people were it was so helpful, because even as an acupuncturist, people would come in, they would come in for treatment, and they would show up for their appointment, and they would want so bad to get better. They would want to make the changes in their life that they wanted to do. They really, like, they wanted to be a teammate with me to help them get better. But there were so many that were stuck and couldn't do it. And I could not, it was making me crazy as a practitioner. I was like, you're showing up, like show up for yourselves. Why can't you show up for yourselves at home? Like, why can't you eat well and exercise and meditate? And, you know, why we're all busy, but like, if you're suffering, why can't you make these changes?
Mhm.
And when I got done with the brain health coaching, I was like, oh, it's their brain. Like there's areas of their brain that are not working. So that just shifted my whole paradigm as a practitioner. At that point, I had a wellness center. We had 14 practitioners of different modalities. I think we were running about 30 to 35 modalities at any given time with all the practitioners. And then I had my own acupuncture full practice. And it just, you know, the switch went off in my brain. And, so I started working with people and saying, okay, come on in and, you know, we'll do a brain health assessment, and then we'll also do the acupuncture with it. And so I was starting to integrate it. And I was already really busy as an acupuncturist. I mean, I'd been in practice for a long time, and I got even busier as I was integrating brain health. People were going back to their families and friends and talking about it and going, oh my God, like, you know, you need to go see her. And so all of a sudden I kind of hit the wall of like, I can't help everybody. I don't know how to make 500 of me. Like I can't work fast enough. And so I woke up one morning and I was like, I got to decide, like, do I go brain health full on, or do I stick with the acupuncture, which is my heart? I love acupuncture and Chinese medicine. It makes so much sense to me. And so I had one of those, you know, kind of spirit crisis moments of like, okay, what direction am I going to go? And I was really clear that, really guided of, you know, you've got to let go of the acupuncture. And I never I thought I'd be doing acupuncture until I was 80. Like it was never a thought in my brain. Like nobody ever asked me about it. It wasn't in my existence. And so that was a big journey for me. And so I ended up selling my practice last year, and I took a year off and kind of was trying to gather myself after such a huge transition. And even though I was off, I was still mentoring other practitioners who were going through the brain health coaching. Because since I've worked with all different modalities and all different types of practitioners, and I've been able to integrate different parts of their modalities and practices as an acupuncturist, my brain works that way. Like I help people integrate information and different modalities and different pieces. And that's one of my gifts. I mean, I can do that. So Fallon has been sending me brain health coaches who have been wanting more help and figuring out. I just worked with a woman who's a hypnotherapist and who went to the brain health coaching and was so excited, and she finished it. And then she just kind of got stuck of like, okay, now what do I do? And I was like, okay, this is how you do the paperwork. This is how you do the business. This is how you do the marketing. And I just pulled everything together. And I loved doing that. And so that's part of what I am doing now, is to be able to help any type of person who wants to integrate the brain health coaching into whatever it is that they're doing, whether they're, you know, a PT or a chiropractor or a nurse or an acupuncturist or a massage therapist or, you know, a mother or, you know, whoever. I can help institute and integrate. I have a lot of left brain, logical reasoning gifts, as well as my creative brain, which is always my integration part. So it has been an extraordinary journey, and I cannot thank Dr. Amen for being on his journey so that he could bring such light to mental illness. And really, I'm all for the changing the conversation to, let's talk about brain health and let's start talking about it, you know, when we're younger. One of the things that I did is, before I sold my practice, is I started teaching. And so I was teaching the public, I was teaching adults, I was teaching teen classes on brain health. I went into a couple schools and was teaching the staff and the faculty there. And the teachers were like, we've never heard of this information. Like, why has nobody ever told us about this information? And they just, they had so many incredible awarenesses of what their students were struggling with. And it's not like the kids want to be bad. I mean, kids don't ever want to be bad. They want to please us, but if they can't because their brain's not working, we have got to help them. And the earlier that we help them, the better the whole world is going to be, because then everybody can fulfill their potential. So I'm on a brain health mission to help change the conversation, because I don't think it's mental health, and it just doesn't feel right. It's not the right understanding of how the brain works. So so I'm also out there training now, also doing classes for acupuncturists and doing continuing education classes for acupuncturists and for other healthcare providers, nutritionists, and PAs and NPs and nurses and all of those, to help integrate the brain health information. So, even if if they're even curious of like, what does the brain health coaching do? I can help give them an introduction enough to be able to go through the course. And then if they are wanting some help in helping to integrate it, I can absolutely help them with that. So, so that's the crazy story, the full of many miracles and a lot of hard work and a lot of gratitude. So,
well, I'm so excited that you got to share your story, and it's been such an honor to be kind of there with you and Haley for so long. And I haven't told you this, so we have a new course. So we have the brain health coaching that's for medical professionals, but we have a course that is meant for teachers, churches, schools, anyone that wants to kind of spread the message of brain health without having a medical background. Right. It's really, really cool. And it's a shorter option. So I know you were like a month off.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right.
It wouldn't be that intense.
And that's awesome. Yeah. But like, I think, Dr. Amen has put out so many resources, the Brain Thrive by 25.
Yep.
That's free to watch with your teens. Oh my God. Like, I gathered all of my daughter's friends against their vehement will and said, we're going to sit down and we're going to do this. And I walked them through the program, but you don't need anybody to walk it through. It's already there on video, and it's free on the internet, access to everybody. And we had amazing conversations. I still have, so that was 4 years ago, and I still have some of her friends come to me anytime they have any issue. They're like, I don't know if my brain's working, and is this good for my brain, and how is this? And I still have all of her friends and all of the students that I've had come to me and say, what do I do? And when I don't have the answer, certainly, the Amen Clinic has been amazingly supportive when I refer people and helping to follow people through their journey there. So,
well, I love that. Anything else that you wanted to share, or anything else that we can do to better support you?
Oh, I think, I'm excited to work with anybody who's excited about brain health. Like, I just spoke to a woman in Hawaii yesterday. LinkedIn connected us, and I don't know why LinkedIn figured that out, but obviously it's smarter than I, and connected us. And I saw that she had, she was a brain health coach, and she did quantum healing, and she did just some German New Medicine. I also work with German New Medicine. And so we Zoomed last night for an hour and a half and talked brain health and, what are you doing and what's working and what am I doing? And, is there any support? And so I think, one of the things when I came out of the brain health coaching is that I was so stoked and excited about the information that I had learned. And I was excited in a bubble. because I had nowhere to turn and nobody who had the language that I had just learned and, you know, and understood. And so what I so appreciate, Fallon, is that, you know, what you have created with the, you know, Facebook support group, and y'all are doing, you know, online seminars and things like that to help build the community of the brain health coaching, because I think that's, you know, that I want to do that. I want to be a part of that, you know, to be able to build that, because to me, it's like, not everybody can come in and do a scan. And so the brain health coaches are, you know, the next best thing. And we know what our limitations are. And, you know, we also know when to refer out. So, you know, I think we can do so much the more the people that are understanding what brain health is and what does it mean, you know, and how do we do it. So it's just like learning anything else, you know, you learn a little bit of a different language, and yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about, is seeing, I'm so glad that you are in the position that you are in to just take the brain health coaching community forward in the world and just spread the love, spread the knowledge, spread the light, spread the understanding. Because you know what's really interesting is when I talk to my clients, I was on sabbatical, but you know, I'm still working with clients. I had a woman who her and her husband, they love each other, and they were having, you know, just a hard time, and they were picking on each other. And I did a brain health assessment on both of them. And I sat down with both of them and I explained how each other's brain was working to the other person. And it has completely changed their relationship. I mean, we've worked on their brain health and getting things balanced out, but that understanding of how that person's brain is working brings you back a step and helps you have compassion and understanding. Like, sometimes it's not that these people are trying to be mean or get at you, or, you know, it's just that that's how their brain works. And when you have that understanding, it changes all of your relationships in your life. It changes everything. So I could go on and on.
I love it. And yeah, I think couples, you know, in that evaluation with the doctor really get clarity on what's going out when those pictures come out. His, hers, normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know, you know, when my husband and I had stressful issues, and, you know, 6-7 years ago, I was like, if I had that information, we wouldn't have had the troubles that we had, you know. And it's just, we really had to struggle through it. And there's no reason to struggle. Like, you don't have to struggle with learning issues or anxiety or depression or sleep issues. Like, there's so much that can be done. Yeah.
Yay. How can people find you?
So my website is brainwiseacupuncturist.com, or you can look under Whitney Madden and Brainwise. And I've also got a Facebook page called Brainwise Acupuncturist. And I'm doing, you know, continuing ed classes and other classes for the public, and working one-on-one with brain health coaches, and wherever I am called, I show up and get excited, especially when it has to do with brain health.
Yay. Well, we appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you.
It's so good to see
I
you.
appreciate you all, and all of you who have made Amen Clinics happen and be, and good Lord, like, so desperately needed, especially now in these times, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a great day. It was so good to see you.
Thank you. It was good to see you. Thanks.
Bye.